if you had to take wrestling out of your life or limit the amount of wrestling you were watching to be a better father, is that something you'd be willing to do?
Hey guys, this is Tempest from Wrestle Talk, and I'm reminding you to support Tom Talks Rubbish.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Fresh, and stand back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by Throwback from bodyslam.net and Wicked Crazy Pinfalls. So, welcome to the show.
What's good, bud? How you doing?
I'm good. So basically, why this interview is happening for people that may not know, you have been gracious enough to have me on your show, Wicked Crazy Pinfalls, what, twice?
Yeah, and one time we had security show up at the hospital.
I know, because that was, what, the week after your son was born?
That was like, what, a couple of days after, less than a week before he got out. That was like, we recorded that on a Wednesday. And then my cousin came to go see my son. Brody, by the way, is doing well, and he is a month old at this point. So it was fun to have security walk by. And a lot of people don't know is my dad was sitting next to me while this was going on.
Oh,
and
was he?
Tapping me on, yeah, he's tapping me on the
this.
Nah, I wanted to save it just for something special for it. But he was tapping me, and I'm like, we're in the middle, and I'm like, hi. And then security was just like, you're supposed to. Like, it is, to me, one of the best organic things that's ever happened on Wicked Crazy Pinfalls.
I said to you at the time, I was like, you gonna edit that out? You were like, nope, that's organic, and that's how we do things here.
Yeah, and that's the best part about doing stuff live or recording or anything. You don't know what's going to happen. You never know. You might see an 8-year-old run in and do a babyface run, or you might see Brody run in and do a babyface run.
Yeah.
It's a never dull moment, and it makes life better.
Definitely. Speaking of making life better, we're obviously quite big wrestling fans. So how do you first discover wrestling?
Oh, God, I'm 41 years old, so this is going to give you a long timeline on this. WWF at the time, because this is back in the 80s, I was about 5 or 6, about 86, right around there. They did stuff on NBC called like Saturday Night Main Event, but it's not like the way it is now. It was literally it was recorded, obviously. Now I look back at it, but it was, to us, it felt live, right? So it was at midnight. They would actually show it out here in the Boston area. And my cousins, I have 2 older cousins, Heath and Lee, they would wake me up in the dead sleep because it was the taboo thing in my older cousin's household, their mom, to go see. You know, they were like 9 and 7 at the time. So it was like one of those things like, you're not supposed to go see that. Well, you know, and they knew me well enough that I looked up to them and was afraid of certain people in my family that they woke me up and dragged me out, 5 years old me, to go sit in front of the TV. And there I am, 5 years old, hooked on wrestling, watching Saturday Night Event with my 2 older cousins.
What is one of your best memories from that time period?
Oh, God. Well, being back then, the old Boston Garden was still around. So, I mean, it's where like the Celtics used to play before it became the Fleet Center and now the TD Garden and stuff. I got to go to a house show with my mom, and I got to see Bret Hart when he was the Intercontinental Champion at the time. And that was like a huge deal for me because I was really into Bret. That was like when I was 7 or 8. And it got me more into it. And the main event at the house show at the Old Garden was Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. And I'm not talking about the American Sergeant Slaughter, the Iranian Sergeant Slaughter.
So what, when he was a heel, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me personally, because of how big of a connection I have with my mom at the time, because my dad wouldn't take me to stuff. My dad, when I left when I was 9,
Okay.
so that was like in the 1990, right around 98 or so. And it was my dad never took me to a ball game, never took me to a professional hockey game, never been to all my little league stuff or the soccer games, which is football for you.
Yeah.
Never did any of that. My mom was the person. Like, we had a concession stand at the park we used to live at. My mom was a part of them helping getting the funds to build it, was part of running that stand and stuff like that for a while. But she primarily did that. And the story about also is that she got the tickets for me and asked my cousins who when I growing up, when you're like 7, 8, and 9, you look at them as your uncles. Asked them to take me, and they, oh yeah, sure, we'll go. Nope, my mom was 5'2". Cheryl McCauley from Lowell, Massachusetts, took her baby boy all the way to the Boston Garden. And the best part about the old garden is it felt like everybody was on top of the ring. Like, you
Yeah.
had that feeling on that. Other than that, I mean, there's a couple of memories later on we'll probably get into, but I mean, that's the one earlier when I in the fandom that stuck out the most.
You talked about your mum there and her being almost like, I guess, would two parents be the right phrase?
Yeah, my mom to me was a superhero. That's why, like, with my girlfriend, with her being a single parent too, or the kids' fathers are a part of it and stuff, like I am with Birdie and everything, but she's primarily a single parent. My mom was a single parent after my dad left at around 1989, 1990, and was gone in my life for about 12 year span in that process. So I didn't talk to him again until I was in my start of my 20s. She was a dad, she's a mom, she did whatever she could. She worked for a company doing computer stuff for a dog food company was local around here, and then they let her go when I
Oh
started
wow.
high school. And then she worked for the United States Treasury here in a town called Andover, Massachusetts for 20 years on that, over almost 20, 25 years, and retired. And then just her health declined like a few months after that. So
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that, man. But like with your mum being the two parents, what was her thoughts on wrestling at this point?
oh, she hated it. She absolutely hated it. She would tolerate it, but she hated it. You could tell. Like, I'd be like, Mom, can I get a pay-per-view? And during this time too, this is when like Nintendo was kicking on high gear, Sega was just coming out and stuff. Black boxes, if anybody wants to look it up in that reference, it's the illegal cable boxes back
I
then.
know what you mean, but our younger viewers might be like, what are they talking about?
Yeah. We would literally get one of those and just start watching, like, the first ladder match between Shawn and, Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon. And it's just, we would do all that stuff and everything, but she hated it. You could tell in her expression. She tolerated it because I liked it, but she hated it. Like, she'll sit there and watch Superstars, and then when Raw started and everything, like me taking me to that show, she didn't want anything to do with it, but she did it anyways because she knew I liked it, and it was something we kind of bonded over. There's one particular match that kind of changed everything for me, more so in my life than anything, and that would be and it's a huge match. I've covered it on Wicked Crazy Pinfalls, with Rob and Wild Boy, the first anniversary of her passing. And that was the Hell in the Cell with Taker and Mankind, because
Ooh.
at that point I had to beg her best friend, who, like I said, I considered an uncle, to rent that because he didn't have a black box. He didn't have any of that. And pay-per-views back then, premium live events, they weren't cheap. They were like $60, $70 back then for a WWE, WWF back then show. The reason why it has more meaning is that the house I grew up in at that time, because I was in high school, the house had a boiler fire, and the flue in the chimney burnt up. It didn't cause a fire in the chimney itself, but the boiler itself caught on fire underneath and created a cloud of smoke that went all the way up. And we were technically, even though we were still paying for the house, we were technically homeless. So they brought us in, and that's something changed my perspective of people being positive, because at that point, after that, I was just in negative mode, because I also sprained my wrist severely too at the same time. So there's me with a green cast sitting around doing absolutely nothing. You know, it just sucked. It really did. But my mom to me was just, you know, untouchable. If
Yeah,
that makes any sense. I
I know what
mean,
you mean.
but when 3 years ago hit, it was so surreal. And on top of that, I was going through a divorce too. So both of them happened at the same time.
Yeah.
And you know, gotten told like in 2018 that she had cancer and that she's gonna fight it. And we were like, good, great, you know, you can do this. And then there's one step before remission, and it happened. We found out it was dormant on my birthday in 2019, which is February 27th. So like we were all excited, and then it went from great to it switched like a switch. It was horrible, real quick, real fast. She started falling. We thought it might have been her balance and stuff like that. We took her to the hospital. She was in rehab for a little while for physical therapy and was living there for about 2 weeks. The first week she got her balance back. The second week, boom. It turns out the cancer spread from her lungs all the way to her
Ooh.
spinal cord and spread even further. It was terminal. There was no way
Ooh.
going back. She was hospice in the house for a long time. May 23rd, 2019, she passed away of complications from lung cancer and other things because of that. The reason, Dean, this is important for a timeline is because later in the next year in 2020, I ended up purchasing the house I live in with the funds that I got that was given to me by my sister. And because she oversaw everything, and I started up doing Wicked Crazy Pinfalls in 2020, 3 days after her 1 year anniversary. Because of the fact that I needed something to keep my mind going, like 29, right around that time frame.
What
And
was?
I've been doing it since.
Yeah, I know you're very consistent. Like we joke about it, like because I feel like we're like friends now. It's got to that point, and it's like,
Dude, I think there's certain people I'm close with in our community too. Like I'm close with Anakin. I know Rob will call me in an instance. Drew will call me. With everything, and I don't mind talking about Brody and what happened about a month ago too, because it might help other people. But Drew called me when that happened. You know, I got message from everybody. You messaged me and stuff like that. You have quality people, like Bad Blood literally messaged me like 10 seconds after I posted everything with
yeah,
Twitter. And with those types of people around, it makes you appreciate it. So like, dude, you're like a brother from another mother, as they say.
yeah. Like you and I have a weird, not a weird relationship. That's the wrong word. It's like you and I have a great relationship in the sense that like we always check in on each other. Like I think you saw a tweet I put out a few days ago about just a very, very low mood. And it wasn't an intention seeking one. It wasn't like a it wasn't like a do you know what I mean? It wasn't like
Yeah.
it was just to let
It was just say, hey, yo, if you need me, I'm here, dude. And you know, I'm home
and,
right now. So if you need stuff to blow off, I'm here.
and I think I ended up venting to you for about what, half an hour about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was over something stupid. Like I think it was over an interview that I thought was going to do really well. Well, it didn't tank, but you know what I mean.
You have those moments, yeah.
Yeah. So going back to you and going back to wrestling, how after your mum's passing, with wrestling being sort of a thing that connected you, did you have a moment where you were like, okay, I need to put wrestling away for a while?
Actually, it's weird because after she passed, it ramped up high. I was during the whole time she was going through chemo and stuff. In the situation I was in, I was looking for something to keep my mind preoccupied. I was extremely depressed. I was at the point where if she went and I had nothing to balance because of my situation, I didn't want to deal with anything anymore. On my days off, unless I was driving my mom and my sister to do stuff, I would be stuck in this huge master bedroom that was a conversion attic, because in the blizzard of 78, the house I lived in, the chimney did burn out at that point.
Yeah.
Um, it it's just I locked myself in. I dipped out in my 401k for a loan to get furniture and stuff, and I wouldn't leave my room. I didn't want to deal with reality. I didn't want to deal with life. But wrestling literally was one thing I was watching constantly. So I'd be on YouTube. I'd find like Wrestle Talk, Walk Culture. I would literally keep searching. And then I found the call from NXT, one of the takeover calls that Hunter was talking. And I stumbled on, Old Faithful Fightful. And anytime I get down now, still like I'll pop into and listen to it and stuff. I'll watch Maggie and Rob religiously, even if I'm not there on the lives. I will watch that.
So will I.
And it's just not till as of recent with the whole series of bad Raws and stuff, and I wouldn't watch SmackDown as much. I'd still watch NXT. I love NXT. I will always love the black and gold. I like the 2.0. And that's why I love doing what I do for Body Slam and stuff. But other than that, until just recently, I haven't been this excited about wrestling that much. I would watch AEW here and there, but it still didn't feel like that passion that I had for it. It was like, okay, I'm just watching it because there's nothing great on. But now it's like I started back and watching Raw. I have a 1-month-old son that I want him to relate the same things I do. And he looked over and he saw all the colors and the screens and the music, and he was actually smiling watching Monday Night Raw.
Was this the picture you tweeted out a couple of days ago at time of recording? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see a 1-month-old son that's gone through pure hell for a week or so absolutely thriving and absolutely enjoying the same things. It's going to be fun to see him grow up, see him like the stuff I like, not like what my girlfriend's stuff or his mom's likes, and his siblings and everything. But I mean, that whole weekend of him coming in the world was the best thing in my life, ever in my life, and also the most funniest things that happened within about 48 hours. So,
if, say, you're trying to get Brody into wrestling, and he's like, "Dad, this isn't for me," will you be upset? And will that maybe lose your passion for wrestling?
No, I think it'll actually further it because at least he's keeping his opinion. I mean, babies right now he's a baby. So you never know, 5-10 years he might find this and be like, wow, Dad, I didn't know you did a podcast about wrestling. I didn't know you did stuff on YouTube, Twitch, all this stuff, different things. But I think for him, it's going to be like, this is what my dad likes. He likes hockey. He likes sports. He likes wrestling, boxing, all this stuff. I like, let's say, anime, writing, stuff like that. I'm perfectly fine with it. At the end of the day, and I say this to my girlfriend too, his mom, and I say, I want people, whether it's you, Tom, whether it's someone else like Anakin, Drew, or I want people that are around me or talk to me daily do a lot better than I'm doing, because to me, it makes things more appreciative, and you look back at the end of the day and you're like, wow, I helped somebody else push themselves to the limit. That's why with like that joke Rob and Maggie made on Coexisting, that Wicked Crazy Pinfalls is the NXT of the community. And I was like, really? You're going to call me NXT, not main roster? And they're like, take it as a compliment, because a lot of people have gone through the stuff in the last 2 years, and a lot of people have gone through to be like stepping stones on it to get up into better spots.
So how did you start doing Wicked Crazy Pinfalls then? I know you mentioned that it was after your mum passed away. It was more of a creative outlet. So what was the initial idea?
I wanted to do it for a while. My boss, Xavier, because I was an assistant at work at the time, he's like, dude, you can get people to talk about stuff that and pull stuff out of them that not a lot of people could do. Um, Doing what I do on a daily basis, the line he uses was like, I would make a pile of shit into it and sell it like it's $1,000,000 and people would buy that pile of shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I would literally talk people about asking questions how they're doing and stuff and bring stuff out of them. So, and
Mm-hmm.
it just progressed there. And then, Sean messaged me after sending a super chat about stuff and thanking him because for what he was going through with a friend, it actually I could associate because my mom had cancer and I was going through this. And then Rob, I would be talking to Rob and stuff. And then Warren would be a part of it. And we would literally get into a Zoom conference about stuff and just talk. And I'm like, I want to do this, but I don't know how. And I don't know if I'm going to be good enough for it. And I don't know. And they were all saying, and Rob mainly and Sean was like, use it as a creative outlet to get through grief, and that will help you. And that's why, like, I say and honestly think, because Rob helped me more so, and Warren helped me, and Sean did, but
Preach. Preach.
Rob was the one who pushed me to go further. And Rob, by the way, just breaking the fourth wall, he had another show already in the plans for him to do for himself. So it made sense for him to help me and get through it. So that's why I say he is one of the co-creators on there, because he really is. He pushed me to do it. Him and Sean and Warren were the ones to get me over that hump to do it. And it made sense to have the first guest ever on there would be Rob.
Yeah.
And that show was a pure train wreck, and we couldn't stop laughing. And to this day, we laugh about how we weren't technically sound to do stuff, but we made it through, and it took a while, but we got it. And he is, out of everybody, other than that being a regular for a while, he is the one person that has the most guest appearances on Wicked Crazy Pinfalls. I think he's at 12 or 13 now.
Oh, I was about to say, am I behind him? But I think I'm a lot behind him.
Yeah, it's different because like Drew's as a regular on there and stuff like that and everything. And Sean and the stuff that not Sean, but a lot of other people on there, but like popping in and out and stuff. It's just, there's a lot of people that have their hands in that and stuff. And doing a belt for a community as big as ours, is hard to do, but actually putting a tournament with different podcast companies, that's even difficult. And, Drew Nicholas is the Wicked Crazy Pinfalls podcast community champion, which means he's the champion of all of us, not just one brand, just everybody. So it makes a huge difference.
If you stopped loving wrestling, for example, would you still feel obligated to do Wicked Crazy Pinfalls because of the people that have helped you put it together?
I'd still be doing it regardless. I think that if it wasn't wrestling, it'd be either anime related, it would be car related, because let's say you have a car and you need to know what the manufacturer recommends and stuff like that. What's the ideal car for certain people? What advice to go and buy a car, and what you would ask somebody. I know a lot of that stuff because of what I do for a living. But it's like, I still think that I'd do it and it would help other people. I've been told that I'm one of the most positive people in the community, and I don't see it. I just look at it as like, it's just me. I'm nothing special. Me and my girlfriend joke around.
You're very similar to me in that respect, because I'll get messages about being positive and almost like, your videos are so positive, blah, blah, blah. And I'm talking about myself. I do apologize. But like, I'll get a message and it's like, I'm not, though. I just like what I like and avoid what I don't like.
This is how I am. Like my girlfriend, me and her will be walking around and stuff like that, and we have like nicknames that people think are derogatory. She calls me a butthead, a pain in the ass, and stuff like that. And if you don't know us, you look at it as like, oh, she's saying bad things. She's dogging him, saying stuff. I call her a freaking goober. I call her a dork. I mean, it's just how we are. We joke around about this stuff because it makes sense. And I do that too with a lot of people. I haven't tweeted a lot as much as I used to. I mean, I last look like the whole amount I've done, and it's like 9,000 in 2 years. And I've had Twitter for since '08, but I didn't use it as much, so I wouldn't tweet as much, but it just increased at that. But I haven't tweeted a lot recently and used social media much because I'm on leave, and when I'm doing stuff for Wicked Crazy Pinfalls or Body Slam, I'm focusing on that, but I'm also focusing on trying to learn how to be an amazing dad. And I love my father to death. I have a decent relationship now with him after not talking for 12 years. I started in 22, but I want to be better. Like that saying I said to you, I say to everybody, I want to be better than he was. I want to be someone else to be better than me. I want Brody to be even better than I was. And that's how paying it forward goes, because you're trying to better somebody else or help somebody else to make them get through another step.
If you had to take wrestling out of your life or limit the amount of wrestling you were watching to be a better father, is that something you'd be willing to do?
No. Let's be honest. I talk about, I love NXT. Don't get me wrong. Me and Jameis have a fun chemistry. It's one of those things that my girl has her things, I have my things, and it's just, it makes us who we are. And as much as if I took it out, it wouldn't be me. It would be just Pat. It wouldn't be like who I am. That's why I like having Throwback as another name on me, because it's two different people. It's like a wrestling character. But I am Throwback, but me, it's just me, and it's just, we're not recording or anything like that, and I'm just sitting, I'm just hanging out with my friends. But when I'm doing stuff and everything, I'm still being myself and hanging out with my friends, but I turn that dial just a little bit
I know what you mean, yeah. So how do you get into the Throwback character almost before you start streaming? What is like your routine?
Basically, as of late, I've just been trying to enjoy the moment. When I did this and looked at it, was like I was doing this for my mom, and the memory of my mom, I was putting pressure on it. I was looking at the numbers. I was looking at, I'm not affiliated with YouTube. What can I make better? How can I do this? Why can I be different? Why can it now? And it would be all in my head to make that happen. And I can't do that anymore because I'm so into being more relaxed, more mellow. So like when I get home from work and I have to record with Jameis and watch NXT, I literally just hang out with my girlfriend, just sit there. We'll talk about the day and stuff, and while watching it, and just relax into it. And then I get in my mindset when that camera goes on, I just go, "What's up, everybody? How you doing?" And it's another ramping of my personality. It's just like you get that gear up. And it's just the fun part of it, though.
What about to come down after a stream? Do you have to do anything to sort of go back to? I call it civilian life. You'll know what I mean when I say that.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's more so like after we do a recording and stuff, I sit back and you've seen me afterwards. Like we'll shoot the crap afterwards for a few minutes, and it's just. You've said it too. You've noticed the difference between Throwback at a high point during a recording or showing, and then when it's just me. It's not anything. Throwback is me, but it's me at a different dial compared to just me hanging out, talking about wrestling, asking how your day was. I mean, you and me have something in common that very few people in this community have. We have an illness that is a neurological disease.
Yeah.
And we check up on that stuff too. I mean, it's just one of those things. Like Drew, like I say stuff. Drew's big money, Drew, but Drew on with me afterwards and stuff. We just it's just Uncle Drew for Brody. It's just it's just.
And I will say this, I have this, I think I told you, I can't remember. I had my first seizure in 15 years, a couple of weeks ago. I didn't I? Yeah. And you were the first person to be like, are you okay? Do you know what I mean? And I don't think I told you how much I appreciate that.
A lot of people do too. When I said I've been in the hospital, like the picture of me with that I posted with like I had like the IV in my hands. I was like in a boxing pose and stuff like that. My family, like my mom when she was a cancer, and I kind of take that too. Is that when I'm in a hospital situation, I have to crack jokes. If I'm in an ER or something like that, I have to crack jokes because I get too scared or nervous.
Yeah.
So it's just, but with my epilepsy too, it's just I get more scared now that I'm a dad to
Mm-hmm.
have Brody see it because he won't understand it compared to like Lily and the boys and Amanda and stuff like that now. Whereas, and then my close friends and his network and his family compared to everything. The bigger fear is having one on screen, and I've had symptoms period on there because I've been extremely stressed or fatigued or something like, and I felt like I had to do the show, and it
I've
got me through a little bit. But
I've got lucky. I've never had one on stream since I've recorded. But have you put anything in place to maybe limit's the wrong word, but to not even ensure, that's the wrong word, but like to hopefully guarantee you won't have one on stream or just won't have one in general?
I have people around me to tell me to keep my mind up and shut up when I'm wrong. And it's not, and what I mean by that is that when you have good people around there to keep you center, it keeps itself in check other than the medication. If and you understand that too. It's like if you have a good people around you, whether it's friends or family. I mean, Amanda's been living with me for about a year almost, and she's been watching me do all this stuff, and she's kept me center. So it's like I'll have her watch me do it, or be in the other room and listen to me and make sure I'm okay. Um, Lily wants to be on YouTube and be a spar, so she'll run in and lean on me, and it's sensory stuff mostly, but it's just I've been blessed. I really have, and even though I'm going through all these battery of tests, everything will work out.
Yeah. And I'm exactly the same. So just quickly, as we look at wrapping this up soon, how did you connect with Cassidy Haynes and join Body Slam? And how does that lean into uh, doing the NXT reviews with James?
I think it was Bad Blood who helped me and made the connections. I think that I had him on, and I was following Body Slam anyways, but I don't know how Cassidy got a hold of my stuff. I think I tweeted and asked to have him on, but I had Bad Blood on, and I think he probably went to bat for me and be like, "Listen, this guy's got something. There's something there," and he basically stood up. Now, when they were going to start doing more things like the show you do with Mania Watch and all that stuff, like they were going to do post shows and stuff like that. So the roundtable already had AEW, um, had Raw and SmackDown. There was no NXT, and I was like, hey, if you guys are going to do NXT, I'll do NXT. I just want to get a shot to do it. And I mean, I've been very lucky with it. Now they've been trying to run through co-host with me and stuff like that. They had someone lined up originally that didn't work schedule wise. Jay Shell was the one filling in for that first show, and then they kept trying to figure out Bad Blood filled in. I asked Drew Nicholas to fill in for a while, and that worked because that's how me and him get along extremely well.
Yeah.
But his schedule didn't work, and they put Jameson there, and look at us. We are like two goofy guys.
How much did you two know each other at this point?
I knew some of his work. I didn't know him as a person.
Yeah.
But with Jameis, though, I every time I talk to him and stuff, we'll text and everything, and he's a good sound guy, and I can't wait to hang out with him, and if I get a chance to go to Tampa or something like that.
I'm pushing to hopefully go to Mania, not this year, but not next year, but hopefully 2024, because it'll be my 25th birthday, and I wanted that to be like my big present to myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you want your big thing. I mean, my 40th was during COVID, so it was like, oh, just go up to our friends and have dinner. I mean, for me, coming up is going to be a big deal because 3 years of my mom passing, her birthday's in November. Brodies in my life. My girlfriend and me have been doing extremely well and everything. So, everything has changed so dramatically and stuff. And like I said, we might as well pop this in there. Brody had a rough beginning too to coming in the
Yeah,
world.
if you want to talk about that, we
And
can. If you don't want to, we can skip over that.
no, and it just shows that he's a fighter, and I appreciate. I have like an amazing newborn that literally fights every day. It's almost like we joke about how adorable he is and stuff, and he is. He really is. But one of these days we'll get a onesie that they just put out for WWE saying diaper killer and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but he was a preemie. He was in the NIC unit and stuff. It was very difficult, but
I was in that as a kid randomly.
Yeah, and the weird part of all this is that weeks before that, I bought the ROH tickets too. So we were expecting him to come in about a week ago, like on the 18th of August. And I bought the tickets for the ROH show earlier that month of that last month in July. And it just so happened the day he was born was the 22nd. The next day was the ROH show. And I got to see my first show since 94 for a live event. For that, I didn't have to work because the venue is there when I was in high school and stuff. I worked there and I never got to enjoy it because I was working in the concessions. You don't get it when you're working there. You don't get to enjoy it until like the show is pretty much almost over. This is the first one I actually could sit down with my girlfriend's oldest, and watch it all the way through and enjoy it.
Shout out to your girlfriend for not letting you go. That's the wrong word, but you know what I mean. She just had a baby, and I'm trying to think of the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say, right?
She basically, I will say it. She wasn't in a good mood at that point. She had emergency C-section, and both of them are doing really well right now, and that's it's a blessing every day.
Before we wrap this up, you talked about your mum earlier and doing wicked crazy pinfalls to help with your grief. So if someone is currently going through grief or something like that and looking for a way to not get out of it, is that the right word? Hopefully overcome it. Do you have any advice?
The best saying I've heard is that when it comes to certain things in life, you never get over it. And not like relationships, certain personal relationships, you can get over that stuff. A loss of a friend or anything, like not through death, but just, you guys distance yourself or whatnot. But, for me, it's, there's days where I look at Brody and I see my mom. I really do. If I get sent a picture of me, my mom and Brody, we're all look alike exactly to a T. So you don't really get over it as much when it comes to your mom or a kid or the mother of your child and stuff like that. But if somebody's going through what I go through, just take it a day at a time and find a creative outlet. And there'll be moments where you're going to want it'll eat you up. There'll be certain things like her anniversary of her passing, her birthday, holidays. Her favorite holiday was Christmas. I mean, it's just, there's certain aspects of it when I hate to say it, when I even been talking this to a few people too. And I think I told you this, is that I feel a little cheated because Brody's here, because my dad's here. He's 72, but my mom's not. Yeah. And my mom was the one that I knew in my heart he would, if I had my own kids, they would be spoiled as rotten as I was as a kid. And I can't. So when I tell people that you'll feel these certain things, but don't let it overwhelm you and don't let it take it, and then find a way to put it into a spin and positive. That's why with every show, because a lot of people ask, why do you they say, do a good deed, pay it forward? Because tomorrow is not given. Yeah. You and me could have a seizure tomorrow and all of this is gone. So it's somebody saying, hey, even if it's like, when I went to work, a local police officer didn't have money for a coffee. I bought him a coffee. And then a month later, he pulled me over because he thought my taillight bulb was out, and he checked it and stuff, and it was fine. But he wasn't pulling me over to give me a ticket or a warning. He just wanted me to let me know that, hey, you should get this fixed, or I have to give you a warning.
Yeah.
It's because you do a good deed and it gets paid back around. It's important to actually know there's good people and good things out there.
What do you think? The last question on your mum, and then we'll do a quick segment of generic questions. What do you think your mum would think of Wicked Crazy Pinfalls for one? And what do you think she'd think of Brody?
Wicked Crazy Pinfalls, she'd probably think it's me in a nutshell and doing something I love. But she would think it would be the weirdest thing because she'd understand it, but she would be like, this doesn't seem like it's you. If you understand what I mean. It would
not really. I'm not gonna lie, my friend.
For me, it's like, I'm not this boisterous, I'm not this loud, I'm more reserved and stuff like that. But she's like, it feels like you're putting something on that you're not. And I'm like, this is me. It's just at a different level that I hold in a lot. And doing all this stuff too, when I'm having a bad day or I'm mad or anything like that, it's energy that I'm taking negative and switching to a positive. And she wouldn't understand that. She'd support it. She'd promote it like hell because she'd be proud of me, but she wouldn't understand it because this is another way of me doing therapy. Brody, I struggle with that question, how she would think about Brody.
If you don't want to answer, I fully get it.
No, I told you with everything, I'm very open and honest about it. With Brody, she would love him unconditionally and stuff. She'd spoil him rotten and everything. She'd spoil Lily and the boys rotten too. But I think for her, it would be just one of those things like, I can't believe my son is a dad. And it would be like, that's, wow, I can't believe this is happening kind of thing.
Do you think she'd also have a moment of like, my son's happy? Because obviously you've got Amanda, you've got your stepkids, you've got Brody now. Do you think she'd have that moment of like, I can breathe, my son is truly happy?
I think she'd be content.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think she'd be in that mindset where everything it's centered. If it would be at peace. It's weird to say that because of the fact that she's been gone for as long as she has. But I think in some way, shape, or form, and you know how like they say some certain things happen for a certain reason. I think my mom had a key hand in all this, if you get what I mean. Like,
definitely.
There's certain factors you feel like that. And I think honestly, with Brody and her and looking at him all the time and seeing my mom and stuff, I think it's just messages saying, hey, I'm proud of you. I love you. He'll be okay.
Apologies to those that like my interviews for the wrestling, because we really haven't discussed wrestling in this one. I do appreciate you, man, for being so open. So getting back to the wrestling, we're going to do a quick 60-second segment called Generic Questions. Those of you that have seen my interviews before, this is where I ask my guests their favorite match, favorite pay-per-view, favorite theme song, favorite tag team, and favorite wrestler or superstar of all time. So 60 seconds on the clock. Throwback. What is your favorite match of all time?
Hell in the Cell, Taker and Mankind, followed up by Shawn and Austin at WrestleMania 14 with Mike Tyson, because that was in Boston, and they had an event previously before that to just to like for the crowd and everything, and I almost got to go to that. So selfishly, that's one.
Favorite pay-per-view of all time?
I just went to it. I have to say,
it's the Ring of Honor one.
Yeah, Death by Dishonor for me, being there, it's different live. It's my favorite one of all time right now. And other than that, I mean, WrestleMania 14 was the one before that. It was my favorite of all time, just because that was like Rock beat with Shamrock and stuff like that. The card was completely stacked top to bottom. You had Kane and Taker for the first time. It was just. It was just an insane time, but Death by Dishonor this year, oh my freaking god, that Briscoe and FTR match, oh my god, and just that card up and down. The only thing I have about Death by Dishonor, I have a gripe about, and I'm going to write about this soon, is that trios match was one of those things I was not interested in at all. But the rest of that friggin' show, oh my God, it was so good.
Definitely. What about favorite tag team of all time?
Wow. It's hard because there's so many good ones I've seen. I literally would have to say the Rockers, like Jadedi and Sean back in the day, but I really like, FTR, and the Briscoes. Those two recently have been really great for me. But the ones that I get into are the goofy ones. Like I like the Prophets just because of how goofy they can be and stuff in the New Day. But if you had to go with classic, I have to stay with the Rockers with Sean and Jannetty.
Favorite? Did we do favorite theme song? I don't think we did.
Shattering the Glass.
What's that?
It's Stone Cold Steve Austin's intro music that Disturbed did. If you remember how they had WWE had like famous bands playing their music and stuff. They had They had Disturbed playing "Shattered the Glass," and the song begins with the glass shattering, and it's Austin's theme in a hard rock bass.
Oh yeah, I know what you're on about now. And then finally, favorite superstar wrestler of all time.
There's so many. Oh my God. Believe it or not, everybody will point as recently as Roman, but for me, I still think Claudio is my favorite. He was one of those people that's high on the list that I wanted to see live, and I got to. But besides him, it's still to this day, it's still the same one. If I was little kid me, it's still Brett. It's still Brett, the Hitman Hart.
Fair enough. And the question I end all my interviews on, you'll know this if you've seen my interviews before, is with YouTube, with podcasting, with social media in general, we're all sort of going to live forever in some sort of weird way. So what is one piece of content from your good self that you want the good people to check out? And then what is one that you're like, if you could avoid that, I would appreciate it.
Any of the shows that are under 10 minutes that I do when I try to push myself to do it as a one-man show. There's a couple actually. I think one of the best shows I've done, it was a 2-part one, I think, with Sean, because Sean didn't have that was in late September of 2020. And Sean Ross Sapp's an awesome guy. He's popped in on the show periodically. I've asked, and if he has time, he does. But that had internet problems. There was a lightning storm. We did it in a 2-part thing. I want people to check that out. But honestly, my favorite one that I've done is the roundtables I've done at Ladder in between before the 1 year, which had we did a 2-hour show and we had pretty much everybody in the podcasting world. We had Warren Hayes, we had Sean, we had Hannah Moore, aka Cher Delaware, we had Jeremy, we had Tim and Joel, Joel Pearl and Tim. It was literally, we had Wild Boy, Rob Wilkins, and stuff like that. But
next time one of them happens, selfishly, I want to be on that call.
And then later on, we've had so many great people on that end and stuff, and it's been insane. But I think out of all of them I've done, other than the ones recently with you that I've enjoyed the most recently, I don't know why.
I'm just a guy, man, and I don't know why you always enjoy speaking to me, even though I really enjoy speaking to you. It's like, why does he always enjoy it so much? It's so weird.
Because it's more because even though I could turn the dial up for myself, I also feel like I don't have to as much, and I could just keep even keel. But I think out of all of the ones, I think I'd have to have people say, hey, check out the ones with Sean, and also check out the match memories. I had a segment called Match Memories, and I did 3 of them. And I would always start, what's the one match or match or pay-per-view that changed your life completely to make you this big of a fan? And then those three answers between Rob, Warren, and Sean were completely different.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, as we look at wrapping this up, where can the good people find you and all your content?
Every Tuesday night, we go to bodyslam.net's NXT post show. Me and the Jameis one himself. We cover NXT 2.0. We either do it on a Tuesday or Wednesday sometimes, depending on schedules. We cover that stuff and wrap it everything else going on. I can't wait for the unification matches. I am so stoked for that, for Worlds Collide.
They may have, I will say, they will have it. This isn't airing for quite a while. So Worlds Collide is the beginning of September. This will have not aired before then.
Yeah, but I'm just stating how I'm excited about it, even though if it's already been happened.
Fair enough.
And then every Thursday night, we try to do it. Wicked Crazy Pinfalls, 8 o'clock. YouTube.com/throwback27, or the Twitch is throwback978. We just try to have fun and be goofy. We did a car show last week, me and Drew, and that was awesome. Like literally talking about all that stuff. We're trying to plan another one down the line. Do some video game streams here and there, just if I have time. But we try to do it every weekly, and if we miss a week and stuff, it's like it's not the end of the world kind of thing.
Yeah. So obviously I want to say thank you to Throwback for coming on. If you guys like this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Tom Talks Trash. Follow me on Twitter at Tom Talks Trash. As Throwback mentioned, make sure you follow bodyslam.net on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, and on Twitter for my show with Cassidy Haynes, the Wrestle Watch Pod, and follow the Wrestle Watch Pod on Twitter to help us pick the match we're going to watch every week. And I will see you in the next one. A goodbye.